Hello everyone. We are here to discuss about whitelisting in PSD2, which is also commonly known as Trusted Beneficiary Exemption. Let's start with the basics of whitelisting, what whitelisting is exactly and why it is done. So whitelisting is about explicitly allowing or granting permission to certain privileged people or individuals or parties for a better user experience. Now, how this whitelisting is connected in terms of PSD2. For PSD2, as far as where the SCA is having the highest priority, the security is the utmost goal. So we say that it is the card holder who asks and gives the consent to add a particular merchant as a whitelist for that particular card. How does card holder ask for this permission? The cardholder asks it from the issuer and say that yes, I am a frequent user of this particular merchant, and every time I place an order I don't want to face the OTP screen and go through challenge every time because I do it very randomly. So I want this merchant to be added in my whitelist so that next time I place the order I go through a very smooth flow. This issuer uh, does this job for the card holder, and merchant has absolutely no control over this list. Merchant cannot get themselves whitelisted for a card holder. When What is the need of whitelisting? It's pretty clear that when a card holder gets adds a merchant to the whitelist, then the card holder faces a smooth, frictionless, non-challenge flow, and that's the reason it makes sense that since SCA is exempted in that case, that's why we call it as trusted beneficiary exemption, because the flow is actually exempt from SCA. Now, how does this whitelisting happens from the cardholder side? Issuers say that every cardholder has to go through the complete SCA OTP screen and get himself authenticated for that transaction to add a particular merchant to their whitelist for future references. So, in that case, issuer provides a checkbox as highlighted here. When the card holder checks this checkbox and completes this SCA flow, next time the card holder placing an order over this merchant will not be facing an OTP screen, or the challenge flow will go through a smooth, frictionless flow. But once it is always needed that once the user goes through the entire process to get the merchant added into the whitelist. Now here are some questions. What if the user don't see this checkbox at all on the OTP screen? What is the reason the user is not seeing the checkbox? What should the user do if the checkbox is not available, and how will the whitelisting happen? There are multiple reasons why this checkbox is not available on the OTP screen for a card holder. First reason, it can be the issuer who is not providing that facility at all to any of the card holders, or the issuer has not enabled this facility for that particular merchant for which the card holder is looking for, or the issuer is in the process of the development. Since it's a new concept, issuer is not up to the level of that facility, but it will be upcoming in future, maybe in 2021. So what should a card holder do? Card holder should always try to call the issuer, ask if this is possible to add this particular merchant in the whitelist. If the merchant is available in the global whitelist, what is global whitelist? I'll talk in the next slide. So if the merchant is available for getting whitelisted, the card issuer will fix the issue, else it is expected to be waiting over this development in future. So what if a user no longer want the merchant to be whitelisted? Yes, it is definitely possible that a card holder may in future feel that I don't need to go through the frictionless flow. I might not be doing much more transactions, or I feel I should have followed the more secured flow. Then the card holder can always ask for removing that merchant for this card away from the whitelist. That can be either done by calling the card issuer, or if the card issuer has provided that facility on the website login, the card holder can go and delete that particular merchant from the card whitelist. Now, next question is, user still facing the challenge flow even if everything is set up and whitelisted merchant is available, everything is set up for that particular merchant and the card, it's completely whitelisted, and the user is still facing the OTP screen? Yes, definitely this is possible, because at the end the decision lies in the hand of the issuer. If issuer finds any issue, feels anything that is against the security, issuer will definitely make the cardholder go through the SCA. Now, how does whitelisting happens for Visa and MasterCards? Visa maintains its whitelist through third parties. For Visa, it is called as Visa Trusted List. And a merchant who wants themselves to be getting whitelisted by cardholders, they should enroll in a program called Visa Trusting List Program. When they enroll it in this program, the Visa Trusted Listing, they provide that merchant an 8-digit unique ID, which is known as Visa Merchant Identifier. It's unique for every merchant ID. Now, in case of MasterCards, there is no ID provided. MasterCard uses the merchant name for whitelisting purposes. So it's actually dependent upon who the card belongs to. Some important tips which are always helpful for whitelisting purposes. One thing should be made very clear, that unlike SCA, whitelisting is not a mandate. So it is all up to the issuer, that the issuer wants to provide that facility to the cardholder or not. It is not a compulsion. It is not that issuer is obliged to do that. It is all up to the issuer whether they want to implement it or not. Then issuer has full authority over this whitelist. Issuer can add a merchant, can delete a merchant, or can move a merchant from whitelist to blacklist depending on the transaction history. Issuer can decide whom to give the access to edit this list, whether to give the access to the card holder to do it over online, or to always make them ask the issuer call center to get this list updated. Issuer decision always prevails. Though merchants have no role in getting themselves added to this list, but yes, they can definitely motivate their card holders, their frequent using customers, to get themselves added to the whitelist, so that it is beneficial for the end users to have a smooth, frequent flow if they are a really frequent user. Merchants have the right to ask the issuer to still go through the SCA even if they are added into the whitelist by the cardholder. If they feel there can be a risk, merchant can indicate that no, you should still go through the SCA, and this can be done by toggling the trusted merchant exemption SCA exemption indicator from the payment gateway side. By default, the value is always false. And the very last important tip is that European Commission says that the trusted list should not be exposed to the third parties. What does that mean? It says that anyone, any customer card holder adding a merchant or removing a merchant from this whitelist, that information is actually not passed to and fro, back and forth to the merchant or the payment gateway. Payment gateway has no right to know about which merchant is added in the whitelist or not. Merchant may also not come to know that if they are added for a particular card as whitelist or not. They will not be informed because it is against the SCA. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.